In his first salvo at the European Union, Donald Trump took Brussels in a pincer, announcing either it buys more US oil and gas to balance trade or be ready to face tariffs. I told the European Union that they must make up their tremendous deficit with the United States by the larger scale purchase of our oil and gas. Otherwise, it is tariffs all the way, Trump wrote on his Truth Social platform on Friday. EU scurried for cover. Both President Ursula von der Leyen and ECB head Christine Lagarde asked member countries to buy more from USA, both energy and other US-made stuff. The threat has worked. EU had, in fact, preemptively increased buying of US LNG this past month, anticipating Trump tantrums. US is already the largest supplier of LNG to EU, accounting for 48% of the total supplies against 16% from Russia this quarter. While this gives you an idea of the kind of impact a mercurial Trump is already having, it also speaks volumes about the situation Europe finds itself in. From a sheepish response of Denmark to the EU leaders calibrating their conduct even before Trump takes office. There's a reason why the US would boss around Europe, Trump or no Trump. In 2008, the two economies were largely equal in size at roughly US $14 trillion. Today, the United States stands at 28 trillion, 50% more than EU's 19 trillion. Nothing exemplifies Europe's economic slide better than the Volkswagen crisis. Europe's biggest employer in Europe's biggest economy, Germany, announced in September that it was contemplating shuttering down 3 of its car manufacturing units to ward off bankruptcy. Europe has lost the edge in industry and technology. Take a look at the top 10 tech companies of the world by market cap. 1 to 7 are American corporations, 8th is Taiwanese, 9th is Chinese, and 10th from South Korea. There are only 4 European companies in top 50 global big tech list. The first in the list appears at number 13 for Europe, then comes SAP at 18th, and then Schneider at distant 30. Another stat. There's not a single company in the European Union with a market cap of over 100 billion euros which has been set up from scratch in the last 50 years. European businesses are plagued with lower profits, slower revenue growth, and much lesser R&D spends vis-à-vis their American counterparts. There's no Silicon Valley parallel in Europe. Hemmed in by national boundaries, the market size limitation is compounded by layers of national rules, policies, and laws, and consequent compliance burden. And then there is the ideological cholesterol by way of postmodernist regulation, from climate change to woke accent on diversity, from strict labor laws to consumer-centric competition policies. While there's a certain idealism that guides those positions, together they have had an impact of stifling innovation and making corporations scoot for cover. Add to it the aging demographics, labor shortages, immigrant dependencies, and related civil strife due to the uncontrolled migration. And Europe presents a picture of an economy gone sick. Listen to this right-wing leader, Alice Weidel, taking Olaf Scholz to the cleaners for the situation in Germany in Bundestag.
Die Bürger haben ganz genau begriffen, dass ihre Politik Wohlstandsvernichtung, Deindustrialisierung, Massenmigration und Verlust der inneren Sicherheit bedeutet. Sie sind der Kanzler des Niedergangs, Herr Scholz.
You are the chancellor of decline, she said in this speech, around the time that Volkswagen made that shuttering decision. Since the year 2008, 30% of unicorns born in EU countries have migrated to the United States. Not that the leadership is not aware. A committee was set up to diagnose the sickness and prescribe a way out by the European Commission. Former ECB president and one of Europe's sharpest economic minds, Mario Draghi, was tasked to present a vision for the future of Europe. The Draghi report admits that European foundations are shaken. Europe missed out on the tech revolution led by the internet and the consequent productivity gains. It predicts a dire picture of Europe struggling at present levels of GDP even by 2050 if drastic measures are not taken. Imagine the morass Europe finds itself in, that Draghi says in his report, a resuscitation of the economy would need capital infusion 3 times that of the Marshall Plan in scale. I quote, "There's an existential challenge. We have to choose. If we don't, we would be forced to choose. We would need to scale back our ambition on many fronts, from development at home to independence on the world stage." Draghi muses. It is likely that most EU leaders concur. Among prescriptions is closing the innovation gap with US, China, doing something to reduce energy dependence on the rest of the world. Except for Norway, Europe does not have much of its own energy reserves, and addressing this issue is going to decide the future effectively, admits Draghi. We should abandon the illusion that only procrastination can preserve consensus. In fact, procrastination has only produced slower growth. We have reached a point where without action, we will have to either compromise our welfare, our environment, or our freedom, he concludes. The diagnosis is scathing and the medicine is strong, said Chatham House on the report. But there's a bigger crisis above all, the crisis of leadership and confidence. There's an absence of self-belief. The Supreme Court in Romania countermanded the national election last month, citing TikTok manipulation. Yes, the topmost court of Romania in Bucharest ruled that the election was hijacked by TikTok videos of the right-wing leader who was in the lead. Europe looks tentative, little lost. As we head into the new year, there's a certain self-doubt and confusion that afflicts the bloc. Scholz just lost his government in Germany. Emmanuel Macron has faced headwinds post the EU elections, shuffling 2 prime ministers. Starmer already looks directionless. Of course, UK is Europe, but not EU. This crisis of self was encapsulated by the only leader of Europe who seems to be sitting pretty. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, while addressing the Atlantic Council in New York on the sidelines of the UNGA. Listen in.
This analysis was focused on Meloni's Western nationalism. The author, which is called Dr. Constantini, argues that my political belief is in what might be called Western nationalism, a thought which at its heart embodies the survival and renaissance of Western civilization, which according to Constantini is new to the European scene.
Her solution to the decline of Europe? Greek philosophy, Roman law, Christian humanism, and Michael Jackson. Thanks for watching.